I will now call to order the regular City Council meeting of December 14th, 2020. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, this meeting is being held electronically, and members of council are participating remotely pursuant to the council's electronic participation policy. Public access to the meeting is available on the Local Government Access Channel 8 for Comcast and Xfinity subscribers, and on the city's YouTube channel online. Public access is also available by telephone by utilizing the call-in numbers posted on the meeting agenda. All callers will be muted and may only comment during the times allotted for public comment as indicated on the agenda. If you're on the phone line waiting to speak to council and are also watching the meeting on YouTube or Channel 8, please know that there are a couple of seconds of delay with the live stream. Please turn down your computer or TV volume as we approach the sections of the agenda reserved for public invited to be heard, so you can hear the council meeting on the phone line and to prevent background noise when you are unmuted to speak. Those calling in and wishing to speak to council may text 303-450-8757 to sign up to provide public comment. Please note that you must connect to the City Council meeting by calling the separate call-in number listed on the agenda. If you prefer to not text your name to the clerk, please speak up and indicate your desire to provide public comment when prompted at the appropriate times. Once you have been recognized, state your name and address and provide your comments to the council. Thank you for following these directions and for maintaining meeting decorum tonight. Joanna, will you call the roll, please?
Mayor Leidy.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford.
Here.
Councilmember Witkovich.
Here.
Councilmember Peterson.
Here.
Councilmember Downing.
Here.
Councilmember Brown.
Here.
Councilmember Goff.
Here.
Councilmember Duran Mollica.
Here.
Councilmember Escobar.
Here.
Okay. Please, do you see the flag? Yes, awesome. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Nope, trying to get us back. Oh, okay. All right, City Manager Geyer, are there any responses to citizen inquiry tonight?
Thank you, Mayor Leidy. Nothing this evening.
Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? No, okay. We are going to start with an interview. We have a guest for Youth Commission. Is our Youth Commission guest with us? Hello, it looks like Nosley is with us. Hello?
Yeah.
Can you hear us? There's a little bit of a delay. You're frozen. So welcome.
Thank you.
So you are here to interview for a position on our Youth Commission. Could you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself before we begin.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't hear.
I know, it's a little pixelated.
I'm Peter at Holstrom, and would you like me to try to turn off my camera?
Let's see if that works.
That does sometimes help.
Does it work better now?
Yes.
Okay. I'll just repeat what I said before. My name's Nazli Fiani. I'm 13 years old. I'm in 8th grade at Holstrom.
Excellent. Well, thank you for being with us tonight. Council, do you have any questions for Nazli? Councilmember Brown?
Nazli, I don't have any questions for you, but thank you for coming forward. I had the privilege of meeting you at our last Youth Commission meeting, and I think you're going to make a great representative for us. Thank you again. Sorry, my brain went dark. Thank you again for volunteering and coming forward, and I look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting you too.
Councilmember Esquivel?
Hi. I don't have any questions for you. I want to welcome you and say thank you for applying to be on the commission. I was impressed with your application where you talked about mental health for young people. As a mental health person, a retired mental health person. Let me be clear. I think it's commendable that you want to find resources and help the young people with that. I was also impressed with the fact that you are concerned in the decisions that are being made locally in your community, and you want to be a part of that. And to me, I think that's what the Youth Commission is all about, is helping and finding out what is needed in our community and bringing it to us, proper channels and all, and just helping make this community a much better place. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Councilmember Peterson?
Can't say it better than Antonio, so no need to. Welcome aboard, Nazli. Thanks for applying.
Thank you, Nazli. I'm not quite sure anyone else had any questions, so I would just say welcome, and we look forward to all of the great ideas that you're going to bring to the Youth Commission. So I'm sure we'll be seeing you again soon.
Thanks so much.
Talk to you tomorrow night.
Okay, moving into the public invited to be heard. This is an opportunity for public comment on any item not set for public hearing. Statements are limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Statements must be related to city business and limited to matters of community interest. Joanna, has anyone signed up tonight?
I have received a few individuals who would like to speak, but they are all wanting to speak during the public hearing portion of the agenda. And I do see a couple phone numbers on the line. I believe they are related to individuals who would like to also speak under the public hearing portion for the tobacco retail license, but we might just want to pause just to make sure that that's the case.
Okay. So if you'd like to speak on something outside of the public hearing, if you're waiting for that, then you can hold. Okay, well, we look forward to hearing from everyone during that time. So communications tonight, we will go backwards again. Antonio, Councilmember Esquivel, what do you have for us tonight?
I have to find my unmute button. Nothing of any real importance. These virtual meetings just don't work for me. We had a virtual meeting with the Northglenn Senior Organization today, and everybody in that organization is just so excited to one day move on from these meetings. But we had a nice meeting. The participants are dropping off because I think everybody after a while gets a little bit tired of the virtual stuff. So much for that. And let me see. Jenny will talk about it later probably. I just want to say that Jenny and I have agreed to do a virtual Ward 4 meeting sometime in January with the assistance of city staff. So that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm doing my math. Councilmember Mullica?
I was curious. I was like, oh, who's she going to call on now? So I actually have no updates. I guess I do have one, I guess. We did go to the Northglenn event, which was lots of fun. The kids loved it. They were super excited about their books, super excited to drive by and wave to Mrs. Claus and Santa. So it was a great time. They really enjoyed themselves. So thank you. And the cookies were awesome. So I definitely appreciate that. Other than that, I just wanted to wish everyone a happy holiday. Definitely spend some time with family and wish everybody just a health and safe time together. So that's it for me.
Okay. Councilmember Goff?
Oh, all right. Thank you, Mayor. Since we last met, I was actually kind of busy. I had signed up to attend the Oregon Homeless Conference, which was it would have been in real life, a 2-day conference. And since it's on virtual and online, I could. They're having it online kind of over the course of December, the whole month of December. So I think I've completed the whole first day at this point. Just getting some interesting information. At this point, I've heard speakers from Maricopa County and the Phoenix area talking about how they've dealt with concerns for people experiencing homelessness since COVID started. And I started to hear some from the Oregon area. So when that's all finished, I'll probably have something I can report to our homeless task force. Also spoke to the City of Edgewater City Council. They were considering joining CC4CA, and they wanted to talk to some municipalities, I guess, of a similar size or whatever, that they could kind of get some information about whether or not they should join. So I agreed to speak to them about why Northglenn is a member, and that was interesting. I hope helpful to them. And then I did have a CC4CA legislative group meeting since the last time we met. Our diversity board met. It's just such an interesting group and so dedicated to this topic that we we met already once in December. We talked so much that we kind of ran over time and decided to meet again last week. And we're going to meet again next week. So I don't know that, I'm sure once things get settled down and we get things hashed out, it won't be like this all the time. But it is so far been very interesting, and nobody's complained about it. Everybody seems very willing to do this, but I don't think we're going to be doing that on a regular basis. And then I did also attend the virtual legislative breakfast that was sponsored by the Adams County Regional Economic Partnership. And we got to hear from Kyle Mullica and Faith Winter, and also a lot of other of our state legislators from this Adams County regional area on what's going on at the Capitol that would be affecting our businesses. So that's it for me, and I will let you figure out who's next.
Councilmember Downing.
Had to unmute. Sorry about that. I just have one thing that I wanted to mention. We held the bike giveaway December 5th over at Stonehawker Farmhouse. And it was, luckily the weather was great. And we had over 200 bikes that we gave away. Families were so excited to receive them. I just really want to thank Jenny Murphy and Stephen and Ashley for all the work they do, putting it together. And also the guys that work on the bikes, they came out, even though they work 3 to 4 days a week, they came out and helped with the event, as well as Kim Scadam and his group. So, I mean, we had a great group. The families were really excited to get the bikes, and I think it was a real great event. So, yeah, it was really fun.
Thank you. Councilmember Brown?
My big news was Noel Northglenn. because we have our youth commission and things and Neuro this week. I did enjoy it. It was a bit crazy, but it was a lot of fun. The kids really liked, sorry, I'm looking at my wall. The kids really liked dancing with Mrs. Claus and then talking to Mrs. Claus or Mr. Claus, Santa Claus. But the highlight of the whole thing was Elsa. She won. Yeah, I was surprised we got to go home after that. So they just wanted to hang out with Elsa. But I felt like the city staff needs to be commended for getting that done and getting it done so well. We had a great time, and the chocolate chip cookies, I have to find out where they came from because they were really, really good.
Excellent. Councilmember Witkovich.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one update from me. On December 8th, I attended the Historic Preservation Commission meeting. We are working on the strategic plan and making great progress. We had lots of ideas for our mission statement, objectives, and goals. It's a bit of a challenge doing it virtually, but we're going to hopefully work those kinks out so that next month when we go to finalize all of our stuff, it'll be much better. But we're making much progress on that, so that's great. I did just want to apologize in advance if I'm turning my camera off because I've got a sick pup who spent all day at the vet today, and he's kind of requiring a little bit of my attention. But I will be here all night. Thanks, Mayor.
Thanks. Councilmember Peterson.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor. A couple things I want to, first of all, report out from Legislative Committee that met this evening. And so a couple things on that. So first of all, a couple lobbying updates from our team. One of the issues that's going to be front and center in the 2021 session is modernizing our transportation. And that's going to be a key part of the things that are going on. We heard a little bit about that at our legislative dinner. The session is scheduled to start on January 13th, but how that continues following the start is to be determined. They don't know if they're going to start with some swearing in or ceremonial things and give it a few days, or if they're just going to start and then go full bore on out, or they might do a quick start and a long stop, depending on the numbers with COVID. So we really don't know what's going to happen with that. It's the legislature scheduled to start on the 13th. What that start looks like is yet to be determined. We do know that committee assignments in the House and Senate have been assigned. And we also know that 4 days from today is a very big day, Friday, December 18th. On that day, we are going to have some information on the current aspect of the state budget. And we're going to know where we're at on that. So that next update is going to be Friday the 18th. Our lobbying team, Ed and Jennifer, will be sending us an email on the 18th with a report on what is produced in the legislature. So we should be looking forward to that. As you know, the special session lasted a few days, not very long, 3 days. 10 bills were passed, 8 of which were directly for COVID funding for emergency services, bars, restaurants, things of the sort. And so that went on, according to our lobbying team, pretty well without a hitch. We wanted to talk a little bit about our legislative preview that we had on December 7th. It was greatly appreciated, the update provided by Heather on what we call the state of the city. And we all talked about that this was really an opportunity not only to educate our representatives, but to show off a little bit. In the sense that obviously not all municipalities are created equal. And we as a city have come so very far, so very fast, being on the front end of so many things. So the thoroughness of that was appreciated. Obviously, we all hope to be able to do that in person next year. Everybody was pleased with the depths of the responses from our legislators. One of the things that we wanted to make sure as a legislative policy committee is we wanted to make sure that everybody on council had the opportunity to ask all the questions they wanted to. And, most of us did, ask our questions, but we wanted to make sure that nothing was left undone or unsaid, and any questions or concerns of any of yours were brought to the forefront. And so related to that, if you want to follow up with that, please contact any of us on the committee or the legislators, of course, themselves. But we thought about potentially next year, maybe, we would start accumulating questions in advance. And that way we could categorize those a little bit and tell the legislators, here's the topics that people want to talk about. And so nobody's, on the spot, so to speak, with a question du jour. They've been thought through, and then of course we can ask follow-up questions as need be. We are going to continue our regional coordination with Lobbying Day related to the issues in Northglenn. We talked about how that was a big success working with other localities last year. And we also started spitballing a little bit a supplemental meeting related to our December 7th meeting with our General Assembly representatives, but with our county representatives. One concern about that is we want to make sure that it's about Northglenn and not necessarily about the issues of the commissioners themselves. But we talked about maybe bringing that into the realm. And the legislative guide has been sent out. And when Susan so kindly delivered some packages to us this week, that should have been included there. And that has been sent out to CML and Adams County and our legislative representatives at the Capitol. And so that's it for the legislative update. Me, not too much to report on personally. I did have the pleasure of spending part of Thanksgiving and having Thanksgiving dinner with members of the Northglenn Police Department. That was a great honor, and it was really, really wonderful. And I don't know if you guys know this, Chief May makes a meal of turkey and ribs for the officers on Thanksgiving. And Chief May had to quarantine because he was exposed to COVID. And so my apologies to your officers, Chief, if they got sick, but it was me bringing the turkey and cooking the turkey. But it was really, really a fun way of spending some time with our policemen and women on second shift. And it was a real pleasure to be a part of that. But that's it from here.
Great. Mayor Pro Tem Wilford.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. All right. So Friday, December 4th, for me was a really jam-packed morning. I started out with the CC4CA board meeting, which happens every other month. And just wanted to share that Dr. Goff, your work with the City of Edgewater did pay off, and they are planning to join CC4CA. So thank you so much for sharing your expertise and your experience. Additionally, I'm excited to share that Adams County is also going to be joining CC4CA. So the coalition continues to grow year after year and is becoming definitely more diverse, which is really exciting. Secondly, I participated in the Colorado Municipal League's Policy Committee. We started off our meeting with a pretty robust discussion about two potential bills. One was regarding some changes that Greenwood Village wanted to see to Senate Bill 217, which I know we've all discussed quite a bit, which dealt with law enforcement. And then the other majority of the conversation was about a proposed building benchmarking bills. Other than that, all of the other items on the agenda were passed pretty much unanimously. So if you'd like to see a copy of what bills were discussed or the agenda, let me know, and I'm happy to share that with you. And then on a more personal note, I wanted to share with council that my family just recently adopted a puppy. So everybody meet Ace. He is a Australian cattle dog. And if the last week has been any indication of what we can expect from him, we're in for a real treat. He's already managed to knock over our Christmas tree and is an expert at biting heels. So on that note, I just want to say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to all of our folks in the community. Whatever you celebrate, enjoy it, be safe, and we're looking forward to a great 2021. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. So a lot of the same things. I think the meetings that I've spent the most time in have to do with vaccine distribution. So the Metro mayors met. The governor's office is spread all over the place. His staff meets with all sorts of groups, different county elected officials, different health departments. I think they're in meetings all day long. because I've seen the same presentation a few times in a few different venues. So it is exciting news that we are able to roll out some vaccine distribution starting yesterday, I think, which is really exciting. And some timelines were shared. Those were in the media. So Metro Mayor's Caucus spent some time with the governor asking a lot of questions and getting all of that information, always statistical updates, lots of graphs. And we collectively, respectfully asked them not to add another color to the dial. We really don't want that to happen. Just because we want to be communicating clearly with everyone in our state. So it's been busy, and there's a lot to talk about, but it's all, we tend to get the information 30 minutes before it hits the press. So it's all been publicized now, but lots of really robust meetings on that topic for sure. Nothing but COVID all the time. That is really all I have. I do also want to piggyback and say, happy holidays to everyone. We will not have an official regular council meeting until after Christmas anyway. So, and I hope everyone is safe. And if you just take a small drive, even just around our city, our residents have done an incredible job of decorating for the holidays. There's some really fantastic homes and neighborhoods. So you don't have to go far to get a little holiday spirit and brighten up your evening. But there are some local events too that you can go see some holiday lights without spending any money or going inside and getting too close to anyone else. But I just hope that everyone has a safe season and that you continue to wash your hands and wear your mask. So that's all I have. City Manager Geyer, what do you have?
Thank you, Mayor Lighty. Two things this evening. The first, I'd like to introduce to the community Tamara Dixon, our new Human Resources Director and first Chief Diversity Officer. Tamara started her time with us on November 30th, and I'll turn it over to her. Tamara, if you'd like to share a little bit about your background, and I think you're on week 3 with Northglenn.
Yes, thank you, Heather. This is the start of week 3, and I am still so very excited to be here. For those of you who don't know, I came from the town of Parker. I have almost 20 years of experience in municipal government, having worked with the city and county of Denver and other Colorado municipalities. Walking in the door in Northglenn, I have been so welcomed. The last 2 weeks, getting to sit with directors and staff and getting to know them a little bit better has been a real joy for me. And I'm super excited to be here and can't wait for the journey.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tamara. We're really excited to have you on board. The second thing that I wanted to share, and Rob Weber, our operations manager, is with us tonight. We have a longtime employee who's going to be retiring at the end of the month, Doug Poland. And he's not here with us tonight because that's not Doug's style, but I've asked Rob to share a few words about the contributions that Doug has made to our organization and community as a whole. Rob.
Thank you, Heather. Good evening, Mayor Lighty and council members. This is a bittersweet time for us in operations. Doug Poland is retiring after 35 years with the city. Doug is one of those incredibly loyal people who just knows how to do everything and makes everybody feel so much better that he's involved in the projects and all the operation things that we do. Doug is a true gentleman, and if you've ever met him, he has one of the most incredible mustaches you'll ever see. He has incredible skills. He has the ability to do almost anything across all trades, electrical, plumbing, carpentry, you name it, he can fix anything. And if we all are kind of baffled out in operations, we know that we can go to Doug and he's the guy that can set us in the right direction. The one thing, the bitterness of this is that we're going to lose 35 years of institutional knowledge of a guy that understands and has been involved in every one of the buildings that the city has. And he knows them all like the back of his hand. And we have hired a replacement for him already, Tony Carmesino, who has been mentored under Doug's tutelage for quite some time. And I know that Tony has a big job ahead of him trying to fill those shoes for Doug. But we wish Doug the very best. I know that he's going to spend a lot of time in South Dakota at his family's ranch. And I think he's looking forward to that. So I don't think he'll really be retired. He actually may be working harder on the ranch when he goes. But we do want to wish him well. We are going to miss him pretty drastically here at the city. And it will be a long time to fill those shoes. So if you get to see him, please tell him good luck and know that we're all going to miss him here at the city.
Thanks for being here, Rob. Joanna, do you have any updates tonight?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I do have a quick update. I won't call it random information because I think it's super important information. It's from the Adams County Election Department. They recently shared data about the November 3rd election. And generally, we don't receive turnout rates by ward for an election unless we have a local city question on the ballot. But they provided those this year. So I wanted to share them with Council. I think all of the voters in each of our wards deserve a massive virtual high five because the rates are outstanding. So in Ward 1, the percent of ballots returned was 82%. In Ward 2, it was 79%. Ward 3, it was 78%. And Ward 4 was 84%. And so I'm not judging by ward, but I wanted to give just a tiny bit of perspective because those numbers are amazing. The data isn't apples to apples because in 2018 it was a midterm election, but at that election the overall turnout was 59%. And then for a city election, also different, but last year in November of 2019, the turnout by ward varied between 34 and 40%. So I just wanted to put that out there. Thank everybody for getting out and voting and for that wonderful turnout for the election this year. And that is all I have.
That's awesome. Thank you. Corey, how about you?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just had one thing tonight, and Heather may want to supplement this, but I know that some communities in Adams County and Adams County itself are considering legislation to cap delivery fees for like Grubhub and DoorDash type vendors. And so I just wanted to, it is one of the, during the special session, the legislature adopted a bill that specifically authorized communities to implement caps on delivery fees. Northglenn probably had the authority anyway as a home rule municipality, but the legislature specifically authorized it. And so I just wanted to check in and make sure the council was interested in me at least pursuing putting something together for you all to look at in terms of the authority to do it and potentially doing it at least on a temporary basis. The Adams County communities as of now that have done it through the end of March 2021.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Brown, did you want to weigh in?
Thank you. I would be so in favor of that, Corey, at least looking into it. I know that some of the people are charging $20 as a, an extra delivery, yada, yada, yada charge, administration charge. So I would totally be for that. Not to change the subject, but Mayor had brought up the Christmas lights. And I just wanted to tag on to that in next door, there's an interactive map of all of Northglenn's Christmas lights. If you find a Christmas light display that you want to share that's not on there, you can add it to the list. But it's a great resource to go find what houses are the best. It's what we've been doing. Thank you. Sorry, Mayor.
No, that's a great resource. I didn't know anything about that. That's cool. I wonder if we can capture it and add it somehow to our stuff. That's pretty cool. Councilmember Goff?
I am also interested in looking into adding a cap. what a lot of people don't realize are some of these companies like Grubhub, aren't actually making money yet. They're still, privately funded, and they do take a lot of profits away from the restaurants. So our restaurants are struggling right now, especially the smaller ones. And I would encourage our residents who are watching and listening to us tonight to not use those businesses. Although they're a business too, and I understand they want to try to make a profit, but that does take away money from the restaurant, or the restaurant has to raise their prices to make up that lost profit. So I would like to hear some more about what our options are in that area.
Okay. Councilmember Downing?
I would just add also, I would love to have Corey take a look at it and tell us our options.
Okay. Anybody opposed to that idea? No? Okay.
Okay. We will get you something this week to look at.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. Moving into the financial update. Jason Loveland, Director of Finance, is with us, I think. There he is.
Sorry about that. Good evening, Mayor, Council member. So we'll go through October financials, and I'll give you a little bit more current update with regard to sales and use tax. But overall, we'll start there, where through October, which is September sales and use tax that we collect in October, the city's down 6.8% compared to the prior year, kind of on track with where we've been trending. Sales tax specifically is down 5%, and auto use tax down 13%. Again, lining up how we have seen most of the year. On a positive note, next to major industries, food tax and marijuana tax, those are up 11% and 6% respectively. So those two industries, grocery stores, marijuana, have really been supporting, the local community and keeping us at, only being down that 6.8% in sales and use tax. So some positive things that came out of this past month that we just got reported. Sales and use tax for October from 2020 to 2019 was actually up 4.5%. So that was a major plus. It doesn't really change the overall year-to-date numbers much. It takes us from being down 6% closer to 5.5%, but it is positive overall. Like we've discussed, the restrictions that went into effect in November and December, and for December, we'll see that reflection at the end of December, early January, when we get those tax numbers returned. But hopefully we can maintain some of that September, October momentum going into the last couple of months of the year. Next, on the general fund revenues, just a couple of things to touch on here. We've already discussed our tax situation, intergovernmental revenues on the report. You'll see that those are up 32%. That's specific to CARES revenue, where we're recording that money. Just over $1 million is what we have through October showing as revenue. If we back that out, intergovernmental revenue is actually down 22%. Overall general fund revenues on the report show that we're down 2.7%. Again, taking out the CARES Act revenues, we would actually be down closer to 7%. So overall, since March and April, and we've been making projections on revenues that are really in alignment with what we had projected. To a certain degree, I guess that's positive that it's not worse than we had predicted, but overall not necessarily a great situation on revenues. One other one that I'll point out, which is large, charges for services show that it's down 22%, or $450,000. Over $500,000 are specific to participant fees associated with recreation activities at the rec center or park use. We do have some increased things, plan review fees are actually up $230,000. So we have a lot of variations within that line, but more specifically, the things that are normal for the city, like participation fees are down over $500,000 for the year. Going over to expenditures in the fund, those show that they're up on the operating side about 3%. Specific categories or departments, legislative department shows up 28%. Specifically, there's $258,000 of CARES funds being reported there as part of our distribution within the city. Other departments of interest, planning and development, they're accounting for safe-built fees. So the increase in building permits and things of that sort are accounted for there, which is why they show that they're up 14% on the year. But overall, the general fund for 2020 is in good shape after we had to make adjustments in the springtime. Going over to the water fund, total revenues are at $10.3 million. You'll see water resource revenue. That there's a large amount of sales and use tax included in there. Water charges, consumption's up 8%. So we're seeing a pretty large increase of 13% in utility charges specific to water. On the wastewater side, revenues are up 8.5%, which was to be expected with the rate increase that we implemented in 2020. Expenditures, again, align with expectations for the year. And the stormwater fund, revenues are at $352,000, which is flat year over year. And then last fund we'll talk about is the sanitation fund. Again, revenues are flat, no increase to those fees. We see an increase in polycart revenues. That's just additional polycarts being sold. A lot of that is the timing of when those are being distributed year over year. But total expenditures of $1.7 million in alignment with what we had planned for the budget. So any questions regarding sales and use tax, kind of overall, I think that's kind of on most people's minds on every month for monthly financials. So happy to answer anything that was in the report.
I see Councilmember Brown and then Councilmember Mullica.
Hello, Jason. Did you expect anything else? I have a question for you. Can you remind me under taxes what that other tax is? Where we have property, sales, use, and then the other?
Right. So other includes accommodation tax and our audit tax revenues.
So I would think because the hotel is going through that remodel. Okay. Correct. All right. I think that is my only question tonight. Thank you.
Councilmember Mullica?
Yeah, my question hopefully is pretty quick. And if you don't have the answer, Jason, it's okay. You could get back to us later. But do we have an idea of how many, or I guess maybe like a percentage of water payments that are overdue in our city? Is that an increase from what we typically see, or anything around that specific utility?
Yeah, so we did do some research into that, and it is somewhat hard to tell because it varies year over year, month by month. But our best estimate is an increase of about 15% of delinquents, residents. And again, that's varied as we looked over the whole year. Some months it might be more, some months it's less. I think in June, it was kind of a greater number because you have the impact of the pandemic in March and April. And then when those delinquencies ended up happening after people were impacted, it was kind of on their June or July bill. And then we kind of had a restart when things somewhat went a little bit back to normal compared to March and April. That flattened out. And now we've kind of seen another bit of a spike here at the end of the summer with some delinquencies. But we typically see on average probably 500 delinquent accounts per month. And that's increased, like I said, about 15%. So that's roughly 75. Okay. So.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Jason? No? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Okay, moving into the consent agenda.
Move for approval.
Second.
Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Yes.
Councilmember Witkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Downing?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Malika? Oh, Councilmember Duran Malika? Sorry.
Julie, can you hear us? Julie?
Over 20 participants in the meeting.
Sorry, I lost my audio.
That's okay.
Yes. Sorry.
Councilmember Escobar?
Yes.
I will close that vote and the consent agenda passes unanimously.
I didn't know if you had frozen or you couldn't hear us, and there's the whole thing. You're back. Yeah. All right. So moving into public hearings, we have, it looks like quite a few. So we are going to jump in to public hearing CB 1956. Joanna, will you read the title?
A bill for an ordinance adopting a new Article 8 of Chapter 4 of the Northglenn Municipal Code, creating the Community Co-Production Policing Advisory Board.
I will now open the public hearing on CB 1956. Joanna, do we have any comments? Or is there anyone signed up to speak?
We do. We have one individual signed up to speak. The phone number with the last four digits of 3762. I'm going to unmute you now. So they should be ready to provide their public comment now.
Okay, welcome. Is there anyone that would like to speak during the public comment section for the Community Co-Production Policing Advisory Board?
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can. Hello, welcome.
I also had you muted as much as you had me muted. I'm sorry, I'll make it quick. With regard to the community co-producing board, my input was on the liaison member to the board. I was trying to remember what I had already said to myself earlier. If I remember correctly, the members interested were Councilmember Mullica, Councilmember Brown, and Councilmember Peterson. My personal input, for what it's worth, it would be my preference to have someone as a liaison who was a person of color, seeing as how so much of what we're looking for is to have representation from people of color in the board. That's pretty much all I have.
Okay. Well, thank you for giving us a call and providing your input tonight. Joanna, do we have any written comments emailed or provided ahead of time?
I did not receive any other comments. Nope.
Okay. Well, I think we're done. So I will now close the public hearing. Moving into CB 1957. Joanna, will you read the title?
A bill for an ordinance amending Chapter 18 of the Northglenn Municipal Code, adopting a new Article 19 regarding licensed retail tobacco establishments, and amending Chapter 9, Article 8 of the Northglenn Municipal Code regarding unlawful possession of tobacco products.
I will now open the public hearing on CB 1957. Is there anyone on the phone who would like to speak either for or against?
So the first person that we have signed up to provide input is Teresa Smith from Tri-County Health Department. She should be unmuted now.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you. Welcome.
Yes, thank you for having me again. My name is Teresa and I'll be representing Tri-County Health Department, providing public comment addressing the retail tobacco licensing. And I hope this helps as council makes decisions on the best or what is best for the Northglenn community. I know the council requested more information regarding the economic impact on small businesses selling tobacco and whether or not to waive this fee for the first year. While we understand the economic hardships of restrictions to reduce spread of COVID-19, tobacco retailers are primarily stores that have remained open and are not seeing a reduction in tobacco sales. The license fee is usually a few $100s for the entire year, and in contrast, retailers make thousands of dollars per month on tobacco sales. The latest Colorado tax data looking at month over month and year over year show that between January and October 2020, cigarette sales in Colorado were up 4.4%, which is about 4.7 million more in revenue over last year. A nominal annual license fee effectively reduces youth use without harming local businesses. An added benefit of tobacco retail licensing is that it levels the competitive market for retailers. Stores that illegally sell tobacco to youth have an unfair advantage over stores that do not. Tobacco retail licensing significantly decreases sales to youth, thereby removing this unfair advantage. While we understand the concern for business owners, public health benefits of tobacco retail licensing far outweigh the nominal license fee. So TCHD would recommend the city not waive or reduce the license fee in the first year. TCHD appreciates the comments shared by several council members about the importance of enforcement and compliance checks. It is, in fact, strong enforcement that makes these regulations effective. While we understand the reasoning shared at the meeting that compliance check language is included in state law, TCHD highly recommends that the city include its own compliance check process and local code as well. This allows for local control enforcement practices, even if state law should change at any point. TCHD recommends the city include language that at least 2 compliance checks will be done annually in local code. This will clearly set expectations for the retailer and lessen stress on city staff and law enforcement. TCHD also understands the desire to reward good behavior like you are doing with the renewal fee incentive. Our only note of caution is to ensure that even with reduced fees, the city has enough funds to fully enforce the license provisions. The annual license fee can only include no more than the cost incurred by the city to administer, educate, and enforce the provisions of the license under the provisions of Tabor. A reduction in fees as an incentive arguably reduces the minimal funds necessary for the licensing program. And TCHD strongly recommends the City of Northglenn repeal its minor in possession of nicotine code rather than updating it to match the new sales law. Penalizing young people has not been proven to be an effective strategy for reducing youth substance use, and some experts argue that purchase, use, and possession laws, or PUP laws, could actually detract from more effective enforcement measures and tobacco control efforts. The only way tobacco enters our community is through the retail environment. It is much more effective to hold retailers accountable to sales laws. PUP laws are also unfairly punish and stigmatize children, many of whom became addicted at a young age as a result of the tobacco industry's aggressive marketing. In addition, we know that across the nation, PUP tickets are issued to young people of color at higher rates than non-Hispanic white youth. If this is something council would like to discuss further, we are happy to bring more information and engage in conversation at any time. We are grateful to Northglenn for its leadership in this area and its commitment to the health and safety of our young people. We are here as your partner in this effort. We look forward to continuing to work with you on these important issues. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else, Joanna?
Yes, the next person on the list is Thomas Bryant, and he is unmuted, so he's ready to go right now.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Thomas Bryant, and I am the Executive Director and Legal Counsel for the National Association of Tobacco Outlets, a national retail trade association that represents some of the retailers in Northglenn. Earlier today, I emailed you a letter with a specific request that the ordinance be amended to grandfather any existing retail stores located within the 500-foot distance area if the ordinance is adopted. Such an amendment is necessary because my reading of section 18-19-5 of the ordinance only grandfathers businesses after the first license is issued if subsequent changes in the neighborhood would then cause a store to be within 500 feet of a school, park, or recreational facility. The language should read that any store that is within 500 feet of these locations at the time of the first ordinance being issued is grandfathered, as long as the business remains in operation continuously at that location. So just some clarification there is needed. In addition, the COVID pandemic has resulted in convenience store revenues for gasoline, on average, declining about 45%, and sales of snacks, beverages, food items, and tobacco products combined decreased by another 20%. The prior testifier only looked at cigarette sales statewide. Our association has looked at sales across all product categories for convenience stores, and there's been dramatic drop-offs. This is due in large part to the business shutdowns and work from home mandates over the past 10 months. People have not needed to buy gas or other products, resulting in significant revenue declines. For this reason, and to assist retailers in these very difficult economic times, I would urge the council to waive the first-year license fees if the ordinance is actually adopted. Also, the fines in the ordinance begin at $1,000 for a first violation, plus a license suspension time, and then increase by $1,000 per violation after that. Our association works with the retailers on local issues all across the country, and these penalties are by far one of the highest schedule of fines and suspension penalties we've ever seen. Even if a retailer or a new employee makes an honest mistake, the fines and suspension can be crippling to a business that has been so negatively impacted by COVID-19. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration conducts retail compliance checks all across the country, including in Colorado and in Northglenn. And the FDA fines are as follows. For a first offense, no fine, but a warning letter is issued to the retailer. For a second offense within a 12-month period, that is a $297 fine. For a third offense within a 24-month period, the fine is $594. Then for a fourth offense within that same 2-year period, the fine is $2,381, a much more reasonable graduated schedule as opposed to increments increasing by $1,000 per violation. Our retail members also have a concern about possible future restrictions if the licensing ordinance is adopted. Such actions may include a proposal to ban the sale of all flavored electronic nicotine products, plus all flavored tobacco products, such as menthol cigarettes, flavored cigars, flavored smokeless chewing tobacco, and pipe tobacco. A full flavor ban ordinance would devastate retailers because tobacco products comprise about 36% of in-store sales for your average convenience store, and hundreds of tobacco products are flavored. A convenience store relies on gas sales at the pump and tobacco sales inside for its business model to work. The loss of such a large segment of products would lead to employee layoffs and store closures. I have an example. 1 year ago, the city of Loveland, Colorado, began to consider restrictions on flavored vaping products only because of youth vaping use. But a community task force, which had no retail members at all, turned the proposed vaping restriction ordinance into a full-blown flavored tobacco product ban without consulting or involving retailers at any time. After 2 recent 5-hour marathon public hearings, the Loveland City Council just last week postponed any further action on the ordinance until late February, so retailer input can be obtained and a resolution worked out. This is the reality of what happens when a proposal is considered to ban all flavored tobacco products in the event a licensing ordinance is adopted. The ironic thing is that the underage use of tobacco products is at historic lows and falling further, negating the need for such drastic local action. Adults should be able to choose legal products to use. Please consider these concerns now and in the future as you decide what to do with the current licensing ordinance. Mayor and council members, thank you for your time.
Very impressed with your time management. Thank you for being here. Do we have anybody else for this public hearing?
I do not believe we have anybody else on the phone line, but I do have a couple of emails that were submitted.
Okay.
So I will read these, and they're within the time limits. I promise I'll read fast if they're not. Okay. So the first email was submitted by Russ Cohen of 710 Pipes that's located in Northglenn. So council members and city staff, thank you for considering retail tobacco licensing in Northglenn. We feel this ordinance article amendment is an important step to curtail underage tobacco sales and illegal activity in Northglenn. We at 710 Pipes have been operating under enhanced ID policies for years. We feel this has helped us maintain a violation-free business over our last 6+ years in Northglenn. We have even gotten several 1-star reviews because of our ID policies, because other area stores do not have the same level of concern with underage sales. We welcome this much-needed regulation and believe it can be improved upon. Here are some of the questions and concerns we have with this ordinance. Ordinance concerns. Number 1, all locations are grandfathered in. Number 2, enforcement. How to determine an electronic product's intended use, nicotine versus cannabis. Simultaneously protect a citizen's state constitutional medical cannabis right, 18+, while properly enforcing tobacco age 21+ laws. Extent of search power in section 18-19-16, locations like employee personal bags, etc. Tax avoidance, licensee compliance with upcoming tobacco tax law. Positive and negative reinforcement on stings. Tell us when we pass. Other concerns. Number 1, no minors should be allowed where tobacco products are sold, period. This is already state law where smoking/vaping is allowed. It also forces stores to check ID upon entering. Drastically helps prevent underage sales. This also prevents those buying for an underage friend who picks out the items but does have their ID. All members of the shopping party should have an ID for any tobacco purchase. Number 2, oil burner rule, Prohibit the sale of illegal hard drug, non-cannabis paraphernalia by licensees. This is complicated but would have a meaningful impact on our community. Sincerely, thank you. We appreciate the city taking the time to address this matter. If we can be of any assistance, please let us know. Russ Cowan, 710 Pipes. And then the second email that I received is from Greer Bailey. He is the executive director of the Colorado Wyoming Petroleum Marketers Association and the Colorado Convenience Store Association. Dear City Council, I was notified today that you are considering an ordinance to license all tobacco retailers in your city. I was hoping that you could delay a hearing on that ordinance to give the business owners in your city a chance to review the regulation that you are considering passing and the opportunity to provide comment. As you might be aware, Representative Mullica this year in Colorado passed one of the most comprehensive statewide licensing structures in the country that, among other things, will generate millions of dollars and over 6,000 new inspections annually, imposes setbacks from schools, bans online sales, and prohibits signage. Further, with the passage of Proposition EE and the tying of excise tax to pre-K funding, rural school programs, and housing aid, we want to make sure that our operators have a chance to weigh in on imposing new fees before the state has even finished implementing its regulatory framework. Thanks, Greer W. Bailey. In addition, I have one voicemail, and let me just make sure the caller is not on the line because I do not want to steal their thunder by playing their voicemail if they are here in person. And I don't see them, so I'm going to go ahead and play this. And this is from Nancy Riggs.
Hi, my name is Nancy Riggs, and I work for United Pacific, and we own and operate service stations and convenience stores in 4 states, including Colorado. And I'm calling a comment in regard to the agenda item 13B, Ordinance CB 1957, related to the tobacco and retailing licensing. We have 2 stores in Northglenn, and one of them is at 500 West 120th Avenue, and the other one is 160 West 104th Avenue. And I'm apologize that I'm unable to speak at great length, as I just learned about this only an hour ago. So, you know, we always welcome the opportunity to work with the local communities, and we work diligently to comply with local, state, and federal laws, and work to educate our employees to ensure they do the same. And we're accustomed to local and state tobacco retail licensing laws. So we don't have any objections per se to, you know, a municipality or a state creating a license. But in this instance, we would really like to request that you consider the impact that COVID has had on most fuel service stations and convenience stores. You know, we're trying our very best to maintain viability as more people work and shop from home. And as I indicated, we aren't opposed to the licensing, but we believe fees and penalties should be reasonable and consistent with the other localities in the region. In this case, we respectfully request that you waive the initial registration fee, as I'm told might be considered, and that you lower the penalties and $1,000 increases with each infraction. We work hard to train and educate the employees on compliance. It is our interest, and we are committed to not allowing underage persons to illegally access tobacco products. This is done through communication with our employees and education. More burdens fall in the middle of the pandemic. You know, just it's not good for local businesses. In close.
Did the recording just end?
I don't believe so. I think it's operator error here. So let me try this one more.
We respectfully request that you consider our concerns as you discuss the tobacco retailing license ordinance this evening. Thank you. And hope this helps. And thank you very much for considering us to listen to our grievances. Thanks.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
And let me just double check. I didn't receive any other written comments, and I don't see any other individuals on the phone line.
Okay, great. Hearing none, I will close the public hearing. We are moving into the next one, CB 1958. Joanna, will you read the title?
A bill for an ordinance amending Article 14 and Article 16 of Chapter 18 of the Northglenn Municipal Code to allow for the sales of industrial hemp products by licensed medical marijuana centers and retail marijuana stores.
I will now open the public hearing on CB 1958. Do we have any comments? Any emails, voicemails on this one?
I did not receive any written comments. I'm not sure if anybody on the line would like to speak to this item.
We'll give it just a minute. Is anyone on the line that would like to speak to CB 1958? Okay, hearing none, I will close the public hearing. Moving into CB 1959. Joanna, will you read the title?
A bill for an ordinance amending Article 16 of Chapter 18 of the Northglenn Municipal Code regarding retail marijuana businesses.
I will now open the public hearing on CB 1959. Any emails or voicemails for this one?
No, we did not receive any.
Okay, is there anyone on the line that would like to speak for or against CB 1959? Hearing none, I will close this public hearing. Moving to CB 1960. Joanna, will you read the title?
A bill for an ordinance amending Article 4 of Chapter 13 of the Northglenn Municipal Code regarding campaign finance complaints.
I will now open the public hearing on CB 1960. Any emails or voicemails for this one?
We did not receive any comments in writing.
Okay. If there's anyone on the phone that would like to speak for or against CB 1960, you may unmute. Hearing none, I will close this public hearing. Okay, those are our public hearings for the evening. We are moving into ordinances on second reading. And they follow the same pattern. So here we go. First one, CB 1956, Community Co-Production Policing Advisory Board. Is there a motion to approve on second reading?
Move for approval. Second.
So welcome, Police Chief Jim May is here to provide a quick summary of this item.
Mayor, Council, good night. Good evening. To see where I want to go, I want to go straight to bed. This is considered CB 1956, an ordinance on second reading, adopting a new Article 8 of Chapter 4 of the Municipal Code, putting the Community Co-Production Policing Advisory Board. In short, the CCPP Advisory Board. On November 23rd, we came to Council and it was passed on first reading. Council's direction at that time was to make a few changes to the selection process for the at-large youth, at-large community members, community service provider representatives by the mayor and the council officio member that'll be sitting on the board. The application for the board was posted on December 1st and is available in both English and Spanish. We're about to send out postcards also to our community. The advisory board purpose, again, this is to operationalize community co-production policing based on belief that the community should be integrally involved in shaping the policing strategies that affect them in their community. Again, I can just go over quickly of some of the things that the membership. So it'll be one non-voting city council member, one resident from each ward, 4 in total, 2 residents at large members, 1 youth at large member, 3 designated positions representing community safety from the fire department, and 1 from the Fraternal Order of Police and 1 from the police department, and then 3 at large members from professional community service providers such as the Reach Center, Adams County Adult Protective Services, Adams County Youth, the Faith Organization, and all those letters I sent to those organizations last week as well. So all that information's out, and I think Rupa told me today they already have 10 applications for this. So I expect a lot more coming down the road. So do you guys have any questions?
May have any questions or comments for Chief May? Okay, Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Yes.
Councilmember Witkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Downing?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Malika?
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar?
Yes.
I will close that vote, and CB 1956 on second reading passes unanimously.
Okay, moving into CB 1957. We just had the public hearing on this, retail tobacco licensing. Is there a motion to approve?
Move for approval.
Second.
Second.
Right, City Clerk Joanna Small is here to provide a summary of this item.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. Staff is presenting CB 1957 on second reading tonight. The ordinance would implement a licensing program for tobacco retailers that includes compliance checks, and it would also raise the purchase age for tobacco products from 18 to 21. I'll run through the list of what the proposed ordinance accomplishes, just because it may address some of the questions or public comment that was provided during the public hearing. So the proposed ordinance prohibits the sale or transfer of tobacco products to anyone under the age of 21. It would require every business selling tobacco products to obtain a retail tobacco license from the city. And just to note, the House Bill 20-1001 requires businesses to obtain a retail tobacco license from the state no later than July 1st of 2021. The local ordinance would prohibit new retail tobacco businesses within 500 feet of schools, parks, and public recreation areas. This restriction would not apply to existing businesses. So it's staff's understanding that existing businesses are grandfathered in regarding their location. The ordinance prohibits self-service access to tobacco products with displays or vending machines. It requires 100% ID checking for tobacco sales. It imposes penalties for violations of the ordinance, and the penalties included in the local ordinance, with the exception of the fourth penalty, are consistent with state law. For the fourth penalty, we actually reduced that amount from what the House bill had within it. The local ordinance establishes the Liquor Licensing Authority as the local licensing authority for tobacco matters. It authorizes the city clerk to administratively approve applications which contain no derogatory information. It implements a licensing incentive program to encourage and reward retailers for compliance and for providing consumer education. And it amends Section 9-8-11 of the code regarding the unlawful possession or consumption of tobacco or nicotine by juveniles to raise that age from 18 to 21. So based on the research that staff has done, we estimate that there may be approximately 35 businesses that this licensing ordinance may impact. Notices were sent to all of those businesses, and that included the local store that's located here in Northglenn, and then the corporate offices as well. And just to note, for that information, we utilized information that we have on file from the liquor licensing process because some of those businesses are going to be the same. So I wanted to address some additional information based on council's discussion at the November 23rd meeting when this ordinance was heard on first reading. We have included the cost analysis that was used to develop the license fees. That's in the packet as attachment 1. At that meeting, council also inquired about tobacco product sales and potentially waiving the license fees due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So in researching sales at tobacco businesses, staff looked at a few sets of data, which included 4 businesses that we consider specialty tobacco stores. We also looked at sales tax revenue for broader categories, which included the grocery stores, convenience stores, and liquor stores. And then we also took a look at the shared tobacco tax that the state remits to the city each month. So a couple statements on that data include that sales tax revenue in general for each of those categories was up from the prior year. The shared tobacco tax revenue that's remitted from the state to the city was down. I do want to note that that state tobacco tax excludes cigarettes and vaping products. The sales tax revenue that is reported and remitted from those 4, what we're calling specialty tobacco businesses, it could include other products that are sold at that business. So unfortunately, tobacco isn't called out separately when a business remits their sales tax locally to the city of Northglenn. So overall, we don't have very definite data when looking at vaping stores or tobacco stores or convenience stores, just because the sales tax isn't reported by product. It's reported as a whole, even from the stores. So I would suggest that a better way to determine if businesses have been negatively impacted by COVID or what those negative impacts might be is to really obtain that information from each business. And so in evaluating that and knowing that it's a little more complicated than just, straight sales tax revenue, and then it's complicated because the definitions are different. In our local ordinance, we're talking about tobacco products, which is defined as tobacco products, products used for tobacco, and then also those nicotine products, which is different than how the state is currently defining that. So staff included 3 options if council is interested in discussing further the possibility of waiving that initial fee for that first year license. And those options included, the first one is waive the license fee for businesses who request a waiver. We understand that some businesses may not have been impacted due to COVID-19, and they may not need a waiver, while other businesses may be able to provide information to support a request for a fee waiver. The second option is to waive the license fee for all businesses for the first year. As a reminder, the recommendation from staff is that new license fee is $300. And the third option is to not waive the fees for any businesses. I do know that City Attorney Hoffman would like to address one of the recommendations from the Tri-County Health Department regarding the minor in possession provision. So if it's okay with you, Mayor, I'd like to kick it on over to Corey, and then both of us are available for questions after that.
Sounds good. Hi, Corey.
Good evening again, Madam Mayor, members of council. You heard the representative from Tri-County Health Department strongly recommend against the amending the city's minor in possession ordinance to change the age from 18 to 21, and instead recommended that the city not have that ordinance at all, that it punishes essentially the victims of tobacco sales. Without getting into a deep policy argument related to retail tobacco, I would recommend against taking it out of the Northglenn Municipal Code for 2 reasons. First of all, it is a state statutory provision under state law. And so if we do not have a municipal code provision and there is a circumstance where where there's a belief that a ticket does need to be written to a minor, it will have to be written into state court. frankly, the city of Northglenn has a lot more control over things like education and prevention when a case like that is written into its municipal court. And we can look at appropriate remedies, whereas if we have to write it into state court, we lose a lot of the control in terms of punishment related to things like education and prevention. And secondly, it is a tool in the city's toolbox. Not an often used tool, but for example, if there were a minor that were, and let's say a 20-year-old, someone under 21, but maybe not necessarily a traditional minor, who has some sort of aggravating circumstances. Let's say they are out in front of a convenience store waiting for people and continuing to ask them to go in and buy product for them. Again, no fault of the retail store, but nonetheless a serious offense. Again, I think if that were something that were appropriate to write a ticket for, we would recommend that be written into municipal court, where we have a little more control over working with the offender for an appropriate penalty. So I understand the policy issue raised by Tri-County Health, but I would respectfully disagree and recommend that we maintain that in the code as a tool if we need it. And then one other additional issue, if I could raise in response to one of the comments on public hearing. It is the city's intent to grandfather existing locations as it relates to the location criteria. And I would suggest, in response to the concern raised that the language is unclear, that in section 18-9-5, which has our location criteria, in subsection B, we insert one word to clarify that it is the intent that the existing locations be grandfathered. It right now says no retail tobacco business shall be located at the following locations, and then has the criteria. I would insert the word no new and just insert that one word, no new retail tobacco business shall be located at the following locations. That will, I think, satisfy the concern that this doesn't adequately grandfather existing locations.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from council? Councilmember Peterson?
Yeah, couple questions. So we had talked about, were we not talking about setting the fees or establishing the fees at a future agenda session? Or are the fees established in this as written as $1,000 increments?
If I could jump in. So I'm hearing two different things. So we're talking about both the license application or license fees. And then we're also talking about the penalty fines, if you will.
Right.
So with the initial license fees, that $300 fee that council had discussed potentially waiving, those do not need to be set tonight. We will actually come back to council with a separate resolution if this ordinance is adopted to set those license fees. So we'll set that over there for now. So then the penalty fines, those are included in this ordinance. And those are those incremental fines plus suspension penalties that council would need to discuss tonight if you prefer those to be different than what's included in the ordinance.
Okay, thank you very much. Just while I've got the floor here for a second, real quick, how much is the state license, Joanna? If our license would be $300, what's the state tobacco license?
The House bill said that the state license cannot exceed $400. I believe that's for the first year. There's also a provision in there that does let the state, I believe, increase that fee for certain criteria. And I cannot recall that off the top of my head, but I can look in the House bill. But initially it would be $400 is my understanding.
Okay. As I look into this, I would support Corey's amendment changing no new into section 18-19, section 5 for clarity on that being grandfathered in. you know, and we heard a lot from a lot of different people and perspectives on this tonight. I favor the bill. I favor the licensing. I favor the age increase. I would be open to having a further conversation about the fines and the amounts. And one of the things is that you want to have the fine, you know, for lack of a better word, you know, hairy enough and harsh enough, right, to prevent wrongdoers, and especially prevent ongoing wrongdoers. Looking at this just as a layman, you know, again, these companies make tons of money, but it's a grocery store. I mean, it's a gas station as opposed to, you know, a big tobacco and stuff. I would be open to option 1 or 2, and I would be I'd be open to revisiting or talking about some of these fees. It seems like the focus is way too much on the stick and not enough on education and prevention and the carrot. And I would be open to, you know, further looking at that, maybe amending this. But I support the bill. I support the ordinance, but I would want to rethink some of the numbers on the enforcement, quite frankly. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Goff and then Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I think where we are right now, we're set to vote on it as it stands, and I understand the tweaking the licensing fee. But if we are going to change the penalties, am I correct in understanding that would take an amendment to this tonight, that we'd have to vote on the amendment before we could vote on the ordinance? Is that correct?
That is correct, or you could pass it as is and have a future discussion to amend the penalty, which would take a new ordinance, but you can amend it at any time.
Okay, well, I would just want to say that I would support the changing that one word to new, which I hopefully we don't have to, or if we vote on the amendment to that tonight, I think that would go through simply, but whatever, however we go about to do that. I think that there should be some kind of fee, and we can negotiate that later for the licensing. I think the penalties for it, you know, I don't have a problem with them being kind of high. You know, the concern that was raised about, you know, these companies being impacted by COVID. Well, the thing is, if they don't, I mean, and I understand that anybody can make a mistake, but if they don't sell to underage people, then they don't have to pay the fee. And if we, you know, later on, or however, I don't remember now, the first time they get a warning, or is there a fee the first time there's a violation? Because the company would need, I mean, we as a city need to have enough of revenue coming in from these fees to pay for us to do these, you know, like the inspections or whatever you want to call it, where we go and check to see whether or not they're following the rules or they're selling to underage people. So I just want to say I'm in support of the bill. I'm in support of the penalties. You know, we can talk about that later if we want to amend that, but that's kind of where I stand on that. I think, you know, the argument that, you know, that sales have not increased or sales have dropped to use, you know, tobacco sales have dropped to use. To me, I would like to dig into that a little deeper, do some more research, because if that's happened since COVID, well, you know, I hate to say it, but high school kids are home where they're with their parents all the time now. They can't be, you know, sneaking off and vaping like they would if they were at high school, or, you know, off at lunch or their free periods at high school. So I'm just a little suspicious about some of this data, or not suspicious necessarily, but it's insufficient for me. I'd need to know more about it before I could be convinced one way or the other. So for everything that I've seen is that teenage vaping has been increasing crazily since all this electronic stuff and the vaping has come along. And I think we seriously need some ways to discourage that. So, you know, high fees, raising the age to 21, all that I'm totally in support of. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Wolford.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Given that the amendment that Corey has suggested seems pretty reasonable and goes a long way for clarification purposes. I'm wondering if this can be considered a friendly amendment, or if this is something that we'll have to formally propose and vote upon.
And Madam Mayor, if the maker of the motion and the second considered friendly, it could be considered a friendly amendment.
So do you need me to move that we make the friendly amendment for the clarifying language?
I don't know who made the original motion.
I did.
If you consider it friendly, you don't even have to make a motion, and then the person who made the second would also have to be okay with the amendment as a friendly amendment.
Okay. Was that Julie or Joyce or Becky? I heard another woman's voice.
I'm fine with it.
Okay. Okay, cool. So I just wanted to make sure that that was taken care of. And thanks a lot for the suggestion there, Corey. I think it really clarifies a lot. To this ordinance that we've been working on since July of 2019, I definitely support it as written. I think that the higher penalties are definitely an incentive for everybody to follow the rules and make sure that tobacco and nicotine products aren't finding their way into the hands of young folks. And I think that, once we pass this ordinance and we've given it time to be in place, I think that we can make adjustments afterwards, if any adjustments are necessary, and we can continue to receive feedback from, our community, and make a determination at that time what is working and perhaps what isn't. As far as the funding, as far as the license goes, I'm again supportive of the ordinance as written. I think it's really important that this program be sustainable from the get-go, which means providing that stable source of funding. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Escobar.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The way this is written, we have two things we're doing tonight, right? We're either going to select option 1, 2, or 3, and we're either going to approve the fines as they are written in the recommendation, or we're going to come back and change them. Is that correct?
I believe a friendly amendment was proposed. Should we clarify that?
The friendly amendment is only as to the grandfathering issue.
Oh, got it. Okay. So are we wanting to clarify the fees? Is that what you're asking?
No. I guess, let me back up.
Okay.
In terms of the options,
got it.
I support option 3. I don't believe that we should reduce anybody's licensing fee when we have an enforcement cost. And the fee is not a lot of money considering what's at stake here in terms of the profits that they make and the public health issue. This is really a public health issue for me. In terms of the fines, I'm okay with those as written. If we need to come back, as Mayor Pro Tem Wilford said, we can always come back and change that. Did I make myself clear?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so, yeah.
Thank you.
Councilmember Malika?
Thank you, Antonio, for making it clear. For me, I agree with you 100%. I think option 3 is the best way to go because really that fee is going towards enforcement. And that is really kind of the meat of the entire reason why we're doing this, right? Is we want to make sure that we're keeping tobacco out of the hands of youth. And compliance checks is our best tool to do that. We've talked about this proposal for a long time now, so I really appreciate all of staff's help. Joanna, thank you for all of your work. Thank you, council, for the the engaging conversations. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Antonio on this. I'm definitely gonna support option 3. I feel like it's the best way to move forward for our community. And so I guess that's the end of my comments, but thank you so much, Antonio, for laying out so nicely. I didn't have much to say after that. Kind of took my thunder. Thanks.
So a question for Corey. So, you know, if we're not in 100% agreement on option 1, 2, or 3, that doesn't matter to our vote. But what do you need between now and when it comes back in January? Are you going to bring it back with the 3 options again, and that's what we need to sort out in January, or would you like us to sort it out tonight? I guess I'm still confused there.
I'm going to punt to Joanna, but also say that tonight the fee structure is not on the agenda.
Okay.
So the resolution setting the fees will be considered. I don't know if it's at December 21st or the first meeting in January. First meeting in January from Joanna nodding.
Okay.
So I think direction would certainly help to understand what we need to put together for the meeting in January, but there's no decisions tonight on that.
Got it. Okay. Councilmember Brown?
I just wanted to weigh my thoughts in. I'll be voting no on this. I'm very disappointed that we're not taking the businesses into consideration because tobacco is such an evil product. That's a personal opinion. I'm looking at it from a business perspective, and I will be voting no.
Okay. Does anybody else want to weigh in? Okay, so just to verify before we call the vote, we are voting on this ordinance on second reading with the friendly amendment of the grandfather piece. Yes?
Correct. Yes.
Got it. Okay. Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Yes.
Councilmember Witkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Downing?
I've been weighing this through all the conversations and I'm still not convinced. I mean, I am just to make the reason why I'm voting no is because I still have concerns about penalties and some other things. So for me, it's a no.
Councilmember Brown?
I would like to echo Councilmember Downing's comments, and it is a no for me at this point.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Mullica?
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar?
I'm a little confused. Are we selecting the options, or are we voting on all 3 options, or just the friendly amendment?
Just the ordinance as a whole. So just the ordinance that would create the retail tobacco licensing requirements with that friendly amendment about the location requirement. So the options on the fees, we're setting that aside until later.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. I will close that vote, and CB 1957 on second reading passes with 2 no votes cast by council members Downing and Brown.
Okay, thank you. Moving into CB 1958. So this would allow the sale of industrial hemp products at marijuana businesses. Is there a motion to approve?
Move
on second reading.
Second.
Corey Hoffman is here still to talk to us about this one.
Yes, good evening once again, and hopefully this is quite a bit more simple than some of the other ordinances tonight. If approved, this would simply allow our recreational marijuana and medical marijuana businesses to now sell industrial hemp. State law has changed to allow that. at the time the city of Northglenn first adopted its regulations, industrial hemp was prohibited to be sold in these businesses. Now that state laws eliminated that prohibition, we are bringing this forward to have the city's rules comport with the state law rules on industrial hemp.
Okay, any questions for Corey on this one? No? Okay, Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Yes.
Councilmember Witkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Downing?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Malika?
Yes.
Councilmember Escabel?
Yes.
I will close that vote, and CB 1958 on second reading passes unanimously.
Thank you. We're on CB 1959, and Joanna, I'm only reading the title because you already read the entire thing during our public hearing. So this one is the marijuana business location requirement. Is there a motion to approve on second reading?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Go. Okay. So, but our city clerk is here to provide a summary of this item.
Good evening, Mayor and Council again. So CB 1959 is being presented on second reading. This is to make the distance requirements for both retail marijuana establishments and medical marijuana stores consistent, and to use a 1/2 mile radius between all types of marijuana stores. We found a discrepancy in the municipal code that included a 1,000 foot requirement. So this amendment would make the distance requirements for both retail marijuana and medical marijuana the same. And as a note, no existing marijuana businesses would be impacted by the change. I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, I don't see any questions or discussion on this item. Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Yes.
Councilmember Witkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Downing?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Malika?
Yes.
Councilmember Escabel?
Yes.
I will close that vote, and CB 1959 on second reading passes unanimously.
Okay, moving into CB 1960, the campaign finance complaint process. Awesome.
Motion to approve.
Yes. I heard a motion to approve.
Second.
Excellent. So Joanna is still here for this one.
So this ordinance would establish a local process for third-party campaign finance complaints. Previously, campaign finance complaints may have been filed with the local city clerk, but they were then referred to the Secretary of State's office to be handled. Senate Bill 19-232 changed that, and that now requires any complaint to be filed with the appropriate clerk at the local municipality. So the proposed ordinance lays out a process for that. It addresses the filing of complaints, reviewing complaints, allowing a time to cure such complaints or alleged violations, and then providing opportunities for the alleged violations to be cured. Also provides a process for hearings and penalties for violations as well. So we've provided that draft complaint form that may be tweaked if this ordinance is adopted, and then a copy of the penalty schedule that aligns with the state penalties. And I am happy to answer questions about this ordinance.
Okay, seeing none. Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Yes.
Councilmember Witkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Downing?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Malika?
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar?
Yes.
I will close that vote. And CB 1960 on second reading passes unanimously.
Okay, moving into ordinances on first reading. We are going to start with CB 1961. Joanna, will you read the title?
A bill for a special ordinance authorizing the issuance and sale by the City of Northglenn, Colorado, acting by and through its wastewater enterprise of wastewater revenue bonds, Series 2021, in an aggregate principal amount of not to exceed $27 million for the purpose of financing, in whole or in part, the cost of constructing, equipping, and installing certain capital improvements to the city's wastewater system operated by the enterprise, pledging certain funds and revenues of the enterprise to the payment of such bonds, prescribing the form of such bonds, authorizing officials of the city to take all action necessary to carry out the transactions contemplated hereby, and related matters.
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, Jason Loveland, our Director of Finance, is here to provide a summary of this item. Hello, Jason.
All right, good evening again. So as the title stated, this is authorizing officials, specifically the Director of Finance, to execute the necessary documents not to exceed $27 million to finance the costs of wastewater projects. So this is specifically related to the new lift station A and the force main. We've talked about this several times over years regarding during budget conversations. So this is really the authorization from City Council to approve us to issue those bonds moving forward. A couple of the highlights, again, $27 million cap on principal, 30-year maturity, net effective interest rate, so that would be the amount that we would be paying, not to exceed 4.5%. And then the interest rate that the coupons would be issued at, or what the interest would be that the bondholder would make, would not exceed 5%. Included in the memo are 3 attachments: the preliminary official statement, the paying agent and registrar agreement, and then the bond purchase agreement. And so those are included for transparency purposes, that those will be the documents that we'll be executing to finalize the agreement. And then the public hearing and the second reading will take place next Monday, the 21st on this. We have bond rating with S&P scheduled for this Friday at 10 a.m. And then closing on this is estimated to be at the end of January or first week of February.
Any questions for Jason? No? Okay. Thank you very much. Joanna, will you, Antonio? Councilmember Escobar?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Jason, I'm a checkbook guy, and you know that. We had our first conversation 5 years ago, and it was all about balancing the checkbook. And from what I'm seeing here, we have a 25-year debt for not to exceed 27 million. In simple language, that's paying off a little bit more than $1 million a year. Are we we did this with the police station, we did this with the rec center, now we're doing it with this infrastructure. I guess my biggest concern is what happens when the bottom falls out, and what happens if we don't do this? So we can start the conversation there.
Sure. So on regarding these bonds specifically, and then the other pieces that you made up, they all have different funding sources. I think that's probably the key there.
Okay.
So this is going to come specifically from the wastewater fund and wastewater user charges. The other ones were coming from multiple sources of the 0.5% sales tax, the special marijuana tax. So I think, so when you talk about, I don't, the bottom fall out, I guess. On these wastewater revenue bonds, these are supported strictly by the user charges and fees. So there is no, it's different than those other funds because we're not, or those other projects, because we had a lease. We're leasing those buildings as collateral. There's not collateral, I guess, a material capital other than the revenue that's being generated. And so our responsibility by issuing these is that council will set fees on the wastewater side of things to cover these payments as time goes on. So a lot of different things starting from 2017 through today being issued. So definitely a good question regarding our long-term payments and long-term plans to upgrade city infrastructure and facilities. Is that helpful?
Yes, and I had overlooked the fact that there is a fund for that. So that kind of clarified everything. For me, it's just how much money do you owe, how much money do you have, and how are you going to pay it? And you've answered that, so I'm fine. Thank you, Jason.
Sure.
Okay, Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Lighty?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Yes.
Councilmember Witkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Downing?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Malika?
Yes.
Councilmember Escabel?
Yes.
I will close that vote, and CB 1961 on first reading passes unanimously.
Okay, CB 1962. Joanna, will you read the title, please?
A bill for a special ordinance amending the 2020 budget, recognizing revenues and appropriating expenditures by supplemental appropriation for the payment of the costs and expenses of the municipal government, agencies, and offices of the City of Northglenn, Colorado, for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2020.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, Jason is here to provide a summary of this item.
This is a brief item. This is budget cleanup to capture the revenues and expenditures from the CARES Act funding as received by from Adams County. And so previously we had identified a portion of that as council was going through and approving different programs and projects. And this is just kind of doing the sweep up to capture the full $3.1 million that we're receiving of CARES Act funding.
Okay, any questions or comments for Jason? Okay, Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Lighty?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Yes.
Councilmember Witkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Downing?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Malika?
Yes.
Councilmember Escabel?
Yes.
I will close that vote, and CB 1962 on first reading passes unanimously.
Okay, CB 1963. Joanna, will you read the title, please?
A bill for an ordinance amending Article 2 of Chapter 18 of the Northglenn Municipal Code regarding the Northglenn Liquor Licensing Authority.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
All right, our city clerk will provide a summary of the item.
I will. So during the 2020 legislative session, there were several bills that were passed regarding alcohol regulation. Two of those in particular have a direct impact on local licensing authorities and require amendments to the municipal code. And those two are Senate Bill 20-110, which was titled Fines for Violations, and Senate Bill 20-213, titled Alcohol Takeout and Delivery. So essentially, the amendments to the local code update the guidelines that the liquor licensing authority uses when they impose penalties for violations. And then it would also create a takeout and delivery permit that would only take effect when the governor's emergency declaration is no longer in effect. So all of the amendments conform to state law. And I did want to note that the liquor licensing authority considered a draft version of this ordinance that did not change from when they saw it to first reading tonight. And they approved a resolution to recommend council adoption of the ordinance. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I don't see any questions or comments for Joanna. Can you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Yes.
Councilmember Whitkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Downing?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Malika?
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar?
Yes.
I will close that vote, and CB 1963 on first reading passes unanimously.
Okay, moving into resolutions. CR 179. Joanna, will you read the title, please?
A resolution accepting a proposal for underwriting, selecting RBC Capital Markets LLC as underwriter in connection with the proposed issuance by the city of its wastewater revenue bonds, Series 2021, and acknowledging certain disclosures pursuant to MSRB Rule G17.
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, Jason is here. Can you give us a summary of this item?
Sure. So this is clearly part of the debt issuance that we spoke of earlier. Accepting and acknowledging RBC Capital Markets as the underwriter. The biggest thing on this acceptance is they have to disclose, as required by Rule G17, that they are not acting as a fiduciary on the behalf of this, in their relationship with the city. Their main purpose is to market and sell the bonds after they make the purchase. So they're going to initially buy the bonds and then market and sell those on their own. So this rule established in 2012, a lot of it is to identify who's acting as a fiduciary versus who's not. In our transaction, Stiefel Nicholas is acting as a fiduciary, as a municipal advisor. And this is a disclosure that RBC Capital Markets would not be acting as that fiduciary in the sale. And that is really the summary of what before you tonight.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Jason? Okay. Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Yes.
Councilmember Whitkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Downing?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Malika?
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar?
Yes.
I will close that vote, and CR 179 passes unanimously.
Okay, moving in, CR 180, 181, and 182 are all resolutions to set the public hearing for those that we just discussed on, that we just actually voted yes on for first reading. So CB 1961, 1962, and 1963. Since we did vote them all yes on first reading, in order, we can take this as a group is what I'm saying. So if there was a motion to approve all three resolutions, that will set the public hearing for all three.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I don't think is there any discussion on that? Okay. Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Yes.
Councilmember Witkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Downing?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Malika?
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar?
Yes.
I will close that vote, and CR 180, 181, and 182 all pass unanimously.
Excellent. Okay, CR 183. Joanna, will you read the title, please?
A resolution approving an agreement between the City of Northglenn and Riley Industrial Coatings Incorporated for the low zone tank recoating project.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, so we have Kent Kisselman, our Director of Public Works, here with us tonight to provide a summary of this item. Hi, Kent.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Yes, this is for a low zone tank. We have 3 tanks up by the Justice Center. There's actually 4. One of them is Westminster's. This is the largest of those tanks. It's 3 million gallons. In 2017, we put this out for bid, and the bids came back in excess of what we had budgeted. So we took that number that was bid at that time, put a factor on it, and then bid it again this year. And then the numbers came back even higher, or higher than we proposed at that time as well. So we continue to kind of, and we had many of the same people that bid on it in 2017 bid on it this time too. This is part of our tank inspection process, and this is our largest 3 million gallon tank, and it is in need of some interior paint and some exterior touch up, and that will ensure that our drinking water that is stored in there is continued to be safe for the public for consumption. So with that, staff is seeking approval as this is proposed.
Any discussion or questions for Kent? Okay, seeing none. Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Yes.
Councilmember Witkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Downing?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Malika?
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar?
Yes.
I will close that vote, and CR 183 passes unanimously.
Okay, moving into CR 184. Joanna, will you read the title, please?
A resolution regarding triennial determination for the continuation of the Rocky Flats Stewardship Council.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, and I believe we have Tammy Moon here, our environmental manager, to provide a summary. Hello.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. This resolution is seeking approval for Northglenn's continued participation in the Rocky Flats Stewardship Council. This group was set in 2006 after the closure of the Rocky Flats site, and its purpose is to ensure that the Department of Energy and the entities that are in control of that site are maintaining it in the condition that was approved by the participants in this IGA. So this is simply our commitment to continue with that IGA and participating with the Stewardship Council.
Any questions? No? Okay. Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford,
Yes.
Councilmember Witkovich,
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Downing,
Yes.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Goff,
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Malika,
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar.
Yes.
I will close that vote, and CR 184 passes unanimously.
Okay, moving into CR 185. Joanna, will you read the title, please?
A resolution approving a professional services agreement between the City of Northglenn and Hazen and Sawyer for the AWIA Risk and Resilience Assessment for the Water Treatment Facility.
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, Kent is back to provide a summary of this item.
Good evening again. We are legally mandated to provide this by the America Water Infrastructure Act of 2018 to complete this risk and resilience assessment. Lots of big words and acronyms in here. To kind of shorten it up, the RRA will consist of 3 tasks. They'll complete the risk and resilience analysis, and they'll recommend the recommendation and resilience strategies, and then update the emergency response plan. And we have until the end of 2021 to complete this task. So that's why we're bringing this early so we can get a jump, and one will follow the other. And staff is seeking approval as proposed. And I'll answer any questions, but they'll be tough.
I don't see any questions. Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford,
Yes.
Councilmember Witkovich,
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Downing,
Yes.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Goff,
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Malika,
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar.
Yes.
I will close that vote, and CR 185 passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving into discussion items, we have the council ex officio appointment to the Community Co-Production Policing Advisory Board. City Manager Geyer will introduce this item.
Thank you, Mayor Leidy. So as council approved the CCPP Advisory Board this evening, following suit with creation of our other boards and commissions, we're requesting council appoint an ex officio member. So tonight's purpose is to discuss who council will advance for recommended approval at the December 21st meeting. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have about the role that's outlined in the memo. But I think we've shared several presentations on it, so I won't, in the interest of time, go through those this evening.
Thank you. So we must be, I know we are, my brain just turned off for a second. We're having a special meeting next Monday.
We are.
Yeah, okay.
I guess you could say the Grinch that I didn't want to interrupt and say, oh, just kidding. No, you are having a meeting next week.
During communications, I forgot. And then Jason was talking about all this stuff we were going to do on Monday. And I was like, really? Okay.
We have a study session at 6 and then a short special meeting since the 28th is canceled.
Excellent. Okay. Just in case anyone else needed that reminder. Maybe it was just me. Okay. So does anyone want to open this discussion? So we had a few interested parties. Their names were raised at a previous meeting. Do those parties want to speak to maybe why? Oh, I see all three hands. I saw Randall's first. Councilmember Peterson.
Sure. Am I unmuted? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. And thanks, Council. Just real quick, this is, we've been talking about best practices in policing for a long time, and we've heard from a lot of people, and I really think that we've come to a very good place with this council in what we did with the 360 survey, the discussion, the input, and how we've gotten here. And I'd love to be the liaison because I think this is an opportunity to do something really, really great, really impactful, and really meaningful. And this is something that I think can make a difference for an awful lot of people in Northglenn for many years. We all know that this was such a high priority in the 360 survey. I'm glad that we're addressing it. And I'm glad that this is one of the first things that we're going to address, because by addressing this CCPP committee, we can address 1,000 myriad other issues to make our policing better. I really think if we do this right, that this can be a model of excellence in the region and in the state for community policing. There's a couple other opportunities, and I think the biggest one is that this committee has an opportunity to be a place and provide a voice for the diverse voices in our community that have been traditionally marginalized, and the people who, for whatever reason, have not felt comfortable engaging with their local police force. And so this is an opportunity for them. This is an opportunity for the voices in our community to be heard. It's also an opportunity to practice a growth mindset, quite frankly, for our police force. I mean, every professional in every endeavor has an opportunity to grow and work to continually be better. And that's no different for our police force. And so this is an opportunity for them as well as for the disenfranchised in our community. But ultimately, this is a liaison commission. And so it's not about a voice or certainly not a vote. That's not in the thing. It's about being an advocate and an ambassador for the community voices that are on the committee. And that's what I want to do. I want to foster something really, really meaningful here that our city can be proud of. And I want to be the voice for the voices of the community and bridge our policies on council, our priorities on council, and the priorities for the community members on the CCCP. Thank you.
Thank you. I saw Councilmember Brown and then Mullica and then Escobar.
Hi, I've given this a lot of thought and a lot of consideration, and I don't feel that I should be the council liaison on this panel. My reasons for that is that I'm very close and I have tight relationships within our police department. And I don't want anybody to accuse me of being one-sided or only seeing one side of the situation. And from what I can tell, that's exactly what would happen. So I would like to step away from my nomination to be on this, but I'd like to say a couple things. And if this isn't the appropriate time, Mayor, please tell me. I know that we have 3 that are up for position. I would like to support Randall, and I'd like to state the reason why. I really do like Councilwoman Mullica. I really do. And I think that she does a fabulous job. I think that this is one where she handles all of anything to do with transportation. She has a vast knowledge bank on anything I ever call her on. But I think that at this point, we need some diversity in the people that are involved in our panels. And that's why I would like to support Randall. One other thing, I have been on council for 5 years. And for 5 years, I've been really quiet about things. As far as every time it comes up that we have only a few people of color. I am Polish and I am Spanish. And the only time that my Latino comes out is during the summer. That's when I have more pigmentation in my skin. But I'm insulted that it's never considered. I'm insulted that nobody has ever asked me because I appear to be a white woman. I have faced challenges because I am very dark during the summer. I have faced prejudice over that. And I just think that after 5 years, it's time for me to finally address that issue. but I am pulling I can't even think of the right word, my desire to sit on this board, and I would like to see Randall do it, only because Councilmember Mullica has a really full plate, and I know she can do one more thing because she never says no. But I think that as a council, we have to keep that in mind. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Mullica.
Great. Awesome. I always double mute myself, so I always have to double check. So I want to speak to the reason why I would like to be appointed to this board. And one of the main reasons is simply because of where we are. When we think about kind of the history of this conversation, I think that at the very beginning, what I wanted to do is find a solution that's right for Northglenn. And I think we did that. And that alone has just been so fantastic to be a part of. I think this council had great discussions. I think we came together to find a solution that works for us and works for the residents of Northglenn. And so I think taking that journey with me to this board I don't know. I think it really just helps me just be really motivated in seeing the further succession of this work. And it's not just my work, it's the work of all of us here. And I think it's carrying that forward. And I think it's carrying the true purpose behind this work. 2020 has been an intense year for everybody. But the movement that we've seen across this country, the movement that we've seen in our state, the movement that we've seen in our community, this is the outcome of that movement. And I feel like to be a part of this, I have to put my hand up for that, because it's beautiful democracy at work. It's beautiful voices being heard. And I want to continue this journey. And so to start off, being an ex officio member, I would truly appreciate that opportunity to continue this work and really continue the purpose of why we're here, and that's finding a solution that works for Northglenn, and finding a solution that means something to all of our community members, regardless of their race or culture, gender identity. We need all those voices here and all of those experiences at the table. So thank you guys for considering me in that, and thank you, Becky. I totally respect you, and Randall, thank you so much for stepping up as well.
Councilmember Escobar.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was got a couple of phone calls through this process, and I was encouraged to apply for this position based on my law enforcement background, my criminal justice education, and my time with the CPAN since 2012 or 13, I think, that I've been a CPAN volunteer. And I told this constituent that I would throw my name into the ring. But I also stipulated that I wanted to hear from everybody else who was interested in this position. And as the good creator ordained it, everybody spoke before I did, so that was wonderful. It gave me the opportunity to say, okay, do I want to do this because somebody asked me to do this? Do I want to do this because my heart is in it? And what are the other three individuals going to say about what they're going to do? So I've done what I was asked to do. I threw my name into the ring, and now I'm going to take my name out of the ring. Because I think that either Julie or Randall will do a wonderful job. And I look forward to seeing how that turns out. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councilwoman Goff.
Thank you, Mayor. Boy, this is a tough one. We have two qualified candidates here, And I'm just going to kind of run through my thinking kind of out loud. So Council Member Mullica was one of the first people along with Mayor Pro Tem Wilford, to bring this idea to City Council way back when, before we were really ready for it, but at the behest of some citizens. And, it didn't, I guess we weren't ready for it. It didn't get a really positive reception. But when the 360 assessment came back from, oh my gosh, it's late, not feeling at my best. But anyway, the 360 assessment also verified that we needed to do something to bring the community in, to work with our police department. And then it sort of verified their idea that we needed something like that. And so now we're at the point where we're deciding that. So I kind of feel like she had, she was in on the ground floor with the idea that we needed this. So that's, to me, that makes me think that she might be a good person to be involved in this first, year and getting things organized. And she also is a person of color. So there has been some requests for someone like that as a representation on this advisory board. On the other hand, Councilman Peterson has experience with the law, and so he has that perspective to bring. And he also is kind of like a fresh voice because, like myself, this is his first year, and he isn't as involved in other like committees and boards and that kind of thing. So the question I would like to have both of them maybe answer is like, how much time do they have to give to this? Some of these advisory boards I know, start off only meeting once a month, but like the diversity board, this month, December, with the holidays and everything, we're meeting 3 times. So, you just don't know, how they're going to do. And sometimes, it seems pretty clear that Councilmember Mullica, even with all the things she's involved in, seems to manage to go to all of them. So I just don't know if each of you could kind of maybe say something about what you're thinking about, what kind of time you would have, to be able to get involved with, the interview process. And I would say this too, since in our little process, we've written out that 2 council members need to assist the mayor in the interviews. I think both of these people should be the 2 people that do that.
That's a good idea. Do you guys want to speak to her question?
Sure.
Would you like to start?
Yeah, I'll go first. So I think that's an important question to raise, Catherine, because it's important that, the individual who is chosen is somebody who could really be present and devote a lot of energy to this, because it's going to be a lot of work. And I've seen that with what you've been doing with the diversity inclusivity board. So I definitely understand the time commitment. And for me, I'm actually kind of wrapping up with some of the responsibilities for my committee. My NADA chair ends on Thursday. And although I love serving in that role, I'm very excited to pass it on to the next person. And so as that's kind of getting off of my plate, I do have room for this. So I'm pretty confident that I could succeed in this role of chosen. Thanks.
Yeah, and thanks, Catherine, for your kind words to both of us on that. The quick answer to your question is I have all the time it requires and it deserves. And one of the things is too many times we've seen, and we all know this in public affairs, in infant industries, good ideas kind of go to die because there's not enough groundwork, right? Not enough infrastructure built early on to allow them to thrive and succeed. And so just personally, I don't know if you know this, but I've never missed a council meeting, never missed a study session. And that's not either here or there. We all have things and emergencies and things along those lines, but I'm committed to this. I have summers off as a teacher, and the work doesn't start in the summer, the work starts tomorrow. And this is something that, this is not going to struggle because of lack of time or investment.
anybody else want to weigh in?
It's not about this. It's I'm muted. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
You know, it's always interesting if there's, you know, votes for things within council and how that goes. And you know, let's just say that, I mean, we're all on the same team. We're all advocating for the same thing. We all want a better Northglenn. And however we all vote, you know, it's all good. And we come together and do the good work that we're doing to, you know, to advance our city. So however that shakes out for at least for both of us, I would say.
So I have a question sort of on the same line as I like Dr. Goff. We're going to go with that all night. No, I really liked her idea as far as both Julie and Randall joining me for the interview process. I wondered if council would entertain for this particular board an alternate if someone can't make it, or I don't know how you feel about that. Antonio's a no on the alternate plan.
We typically have alternates for most appointments, don't we?
For some, but not all.
Not all. Okay. I know for NADA we have one, and Dr. Cog we have one. So the two I sit on, I typically have an alternate.
And the ones I've sat on have alternates.
Yeah,
inside and
CC4CA
outside.
does. Yeah.
Councilmember Downing, did you want to? You just unmuted.
I agree. I like the idea of an alternate. I mean, because it will be a heavy load.
Well, I'm guessing we need to do some official vote, or at least come to consensus so that we can vote on it officially next week. I've been thinking about it a lot, and this is a hard one because everyone that has spoken ahead of me has pointed out some of the things that were on my mind. And I don't think we have an unqualified candidate. I think that's why I was kind of leaning toward the alternate concept, because I don't want to say no to anybody. This is if you're willing to serve in this way, you're committed, because this is a big commitment, and it's a new thing, and it's going to be kind of a high profile thing as well. And so it takes some grit. And so I applaud both of you. And when I was looking at it, because I was sort of stuck with, I think both of you are qualified, both of you are passionate, both of you have background and interest in that. Where I ended up landing was sort of how do I get to a final decision, was to look at workload. And so I did go back to our committee list, and I believe, and we can clarify this if I'm wrong, but Julie's on 4 things and Randall's only on 2. So I was leaning to support Randall just to sort of balance council workload. It really had absolutely nothing to do with one person being more qualified than the other. But just when we think back to that initial kind of put your sticker on the dot, or put your dot on the post or activity that we did at the very beginning about a year ago, it wasn't totally balanced. And so I would like to see Randall take on a new commitment. So that's where I landed, but I am back on like 2 very qualified candidates. And so if Julie would be willing to be the alternate, I think that would be awesome. And I would love to have both people as part of the process.
I really like that idea, Meredith. I think that's a great idea.
I think that's a fair idea. So yeah, if that's the way the rest of council feels, then I'd be happy to serve as the alternate. But I would like to keep my name still in the main. I'd like to hear a vote from council. Thanks.
Okay. Councilmember Brown.
I really do think that's a great idea. I would support Randall being the main and Julie being the secondary.
Right.
Or, I'm sorry, I'm not feeling good tonight at all. I think that's a good mix, and I think that, you know, they would need to work together during the process so that Julie's up to speed if there is something that Randall can't do. But I think that having Julie as an alternate is a great idea. A great person with some great thoughts for the process, and it spreads out the work a little bit more evenly.
Councilmember Goff?
I thought I muted, sorry. I know as I'm the alternate for the CC4CA, but for me in that particular role, that meant that I am on a subcommittee for the CC4CA. So it's not just, you know, I hang around in the wings and then if Jenny can't make a meeting, then I go to it. So I'm hoping that there are some opportunities for Councilmember Mullica to be involved in that way. Because then you're not just, you know, like, I don't know what alternates do in other situations because I haven't been one. But otherwise, I'm imagining you read minutes and things, and then if you have to step in when the other person can't be there. And as Councilmember Peterson said, he's always there. So then it's just a lot of reading and not a lot of doing. So, you know, if there's opportunities for, you know, subcommittees or, you know, also attending or something like that, I would hope that's available. However it works out.
Ashley.
Thank you, Mayor. I would support your suggestion. That makes sense, especially considering Randall is only on 2 boards. I think it's good to spread the work around and give people more experience. And both Julie and Randall would be great. And I do love the idea of an alternate. So I would support that.
Councilmember Escobar, is your hand up again? No?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Sorry, sometimes I forget to put it down.
What time is it? It must be, it's only 9:30. My goodness. I feel like it's midnight. Joe Biden has been teaching me to think before I open my mouth because I don't want to demean anyone in any way. But did we decide that Randall would be the primary and Julie would be the alternate, or is that still open?
Yeah. That's still open. We're still discussing.
Okay, because the way the conversation would seem to be going is that Julie was saying, "I'll be your assistant." The problem I have with sharing, and it's not a bad thing. It's just that who really is the liaison, you know? And if you make person A the liaison and person B the alternate, then I know if I was the alternate to something, I would feel like I wasn't really on the committee. I'm just there to pick up when the other person can't deliver. That's why I don't like the dual role. I think it should be a definite person who is the liaison, and if that person needs help or whatever, then they you know, we have a whole council that can fill in. You know, if one were to get sick and go on maternity leave, then somebody else could step in. You know, I just don't like the idea of sharing, I guess. Maybe I'm selfish.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I feel like my partner here totally just hit the nail on the head in terms of the way I'm feeling. And I think, you know, I appreciate the idea of there being an alternate. I just don't know that it makes sense. I think with the work that this committee is going to be doing, or I'm sorry, this task force or whatever it is we're calling it, is going to be doing, I think it's going to be really hard to just fill in. There's going to be a lot of work done on the front end to build trust with the members of the committee. There's going to be a lot of background information given. And I think that if this liaison person is invited to weigh in on anything, I think it's going to be really difficult to do so without any of the background information. And so I feel like with the alternate position, we're asking the individual selected for the role to do all of the work, but have, I guess, no part of the meetings. And so that just feels really unfair to me, especially when we're thinking about the true scope of work that it's going to take to be successful on this committee. So that's just my 2 cents on that piece. So I don't support the whole alternate structure, but certainly if that's the direction that council wants to go, I understand. As far as who should be appointed, I think, we are in a really unique position because we've got 2 individuals who are clearly very passionate, and, both would, I think, certainly show up and bring a lot of experience and a lot of perspective to each of the discussions. And I guess I just want to put my 2 cents in for Julie, and Randall, please know that my comments in support of Julie are not in any way intended to be a slight to you. But just, having known Julie and watched how hard she's worked over the last 3 years on council, part of the reason that she has the appointments that she does is that she has done the legwork, she's done the groundwork, she's served as the alternate, so that now she can, serve as the primary person even at, Dr. Cog. And I think, part of the reason I support Julie in this role, I think it's no surprise she, as you all remember, this is something that Julie and I were both very passionate about earlier this year and brought to council. And I would hate to not have her voice in the conversation that she was so passionate about bringing to council, I guess, continuing. And I think, we've had some conversations and an individual piped in about the importance of having a person of color on this committee. And I don't think that that's something that we can ignore. While I think our colleagues will do a really great job in choosing a diverse range of folks to serve on the CCPP board, we don't have any guarantee that we'll have communities of color represented. And I certainly don't know what it's like to walk in Julie's shoes, but I have to think that her perspective as a woman of color who has worked so hard to be where she is going to be really valuable and important in this conversation. So I understand if council wants to go a different direction and will ultimately support, the outcome here, but I just would be remiss if I didn't speak up for my friend and my colleague that I've just seen be such a force to be reckoned with in this community. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Catherine, is your hand up still? Yes.
Yeah. Again, yes.
Yes, again.
After listening to the discussion, I would say that the having a backup person is probably not a good idea. I mean, the diversity, inclusivity, and social equity board does not have one. We didn't decide to put one into that situation. So, and maybe it's not a good idea for the advisory board. But I still do think that both Councilman Peterson and Councilmember Mullica should be, in the interview process, because they both are demonstrating that the passion and the interest that I think would be a benefit to have in those interviews. Like I said, this is going to be a tough call. It's going to be really hard to decide. And my earlier comments still stand. Julie was like Mayor Pro Tem just pointed out, right there on the ground floor, pushing for this before the rest of us, was even really on our radar. So, boy, it will be, and I'm hoping that whatever, like our vote, however our vote is, it's going to be for the one person and not for like a team or something like that we had maybe initially or at some point in this conversation sounded like we might have been voting for, like a person and a backup person, but I think we just need to vote for one.
That's totally fine.
Right?
That was really just a question.
Okay.
We have a couple boards that work that way and some that don't. That was not anything that had to happen. So I guess my question to Corey and Heather is, do we need to make a decision tonight in order to draft what we're going to vote on next Monday, or do we have the official vote on Monday?
You have the official vote on Monday. You can provide staff with direction on whose name to advance, and we can build that into the resolution for Monday, or you can, and correct me if I'm wrong, Corey or Joanna, you can leave the name blank and request a motion on Monday to have the name filled in and then do the vote accordingly.
Okay. So does council, I guess my question is, does council need more time to think about it and to vote, or do you want to do a little straw count right now? Councilmember Downing?
I would suggest my personal preference would be to leave the resolution blank and move with the vote, because we really can't vote tonight. You can have a consensus, but you can't vote.
Right. So that's the two things. We could either get consensus to put the name on, or we could just wait and vote on Monday.
I personally think you should leave it blank, but whatever council wants to do.
Catherine.
Okay, so I need a clarifying question. The vote on whenever we do it, tonight or next week, or I guess it's next week. But so you'd vote for one person, and then if that person got the vote, then that name goes in. If that person doesn't get a vote, then we vote for the next person. Is that how that works?
No? Yeah, it is. Antonio, are you confused?
It would be the same way you vote for anything else. You could have a ballots, and everybody has one vote. Whoever gets the most vote is the one that gets it. It's like any other election.
It sounds like we're doing it like we do for Mayor Pro Tem. So there's a motion for an individual, and if that individual gets the majority of the votes, it's done. If they don't, then there's a motion for the second party.
That's correct.
Right.
Okay. I'm not thinking like the Mayor Pro Tem is. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I can buy that.
I mean, that's how Corey explained it a couple weeks ago. That's my least favorite way that we make decisions. I think it's just a mad rush and totally chaotic. So I would much prefer that we get some consensus tonight and put the name on the resolution. But if people aren't ready to make a commitment, then I totally understand.
Can we get a show of hands of who's ready? And if we're all ready, then let's just do it.
I'm ready.
All right.
Can you be ready, Joyce?
I'll go either way, but I just think it's formally you have to do you have to put a name in one way or the other, but it gives everyone an opportunity to think through all of the discussion we've had also tonight.
Okay. Do you need more time?
Me? No.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I'm just telling you how I feel this process should be. That's all.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Wolford?
I was just thinking, we have a study session at 6 p.m. before a special meeting. If Councilmember Downing wanted some additional time, or anybody else wanted some additional time to consider the discussion we had, we could potentially come to consensus then without having to go through the painful process of voting for one candidate or voting down a candidate and then choosing the next. But I defer to the rest of the council. Just a thought.
I think it depends. I mean, we all said we were okay doing it now. So I think it just delays it 7 days. And so if everyone's okay doing it now, I think we're okay. So, because it's not an official vote, we don't need a motion. Corey, I don't want to be the one to call the vote.
I mean, again, you're seeking a consensus, so it can be, raise your hand if you're in favor of either Councilmember Peterson or Councilmember Mullica. I mean, whichever one you want to do. And you'll see how many hands are raised.
I feel like we should vote simultaneously, like your right hand for one and your left hand for the other. I don't know. That could screw people up. That'd be a mirror image. Okay. Well, how about this? I'm going to go alphabetical. So raise your hand if you would like to support Councilmember Mullica in this position. So it looks like we have 4. So raise your hand if you would like Councilmember Peterson in this role. Okay, 5. So there's our 5-4. So congratulations, Randall. We will put your name on the document and we will vote on that next Monday. All righty. Moving into public invited to be heard. Is there anyone else with us, Joanna?
I believe we lost all of the public on the phone line, unfortunately. And I don't have anybody who has texted or emailed any comments either.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Well, so we do have a meeting next Monday, and I will see you all then. Have a great night. We are adjourned.
Night. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.